Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we're going to look at a video that a YouTuber did that is going to help you out if you are a shareholder who thinks that the Q2 Palantir earnings was a disaster. I think almost all the Palantir shareholders feel this way, and now you're wondering, did they break my thesis? Should I sell the stock? And should I buy more of the stock? What the heck should I do with the stock? And this video is so good. It's not specifically about Palantir, but it has very good implications to Palantir. It's a long video, so I obviously cut out the parts that are very important for us Palantir investors, and I have linked the video in the description box below, and I really recommend that you watch it if you have the time. It's 27 minutes. If you don't have the time, this is the much shorter version. I think we will be maybe 15 minutes, and I promise you it's going to be worth it. So if you like the content, as always, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you want to support the channel, check out the first link in the description box below, which takes you to our Patreon, where you get direct access to me and all the valuations that we do for this channel, and you get to support the channel. So go ahead and check it out. The YouTuber that I'm talking about is Jeremy Financial Education. And again, whatever you think about the guy, I promise you this video is going to be worth it. And let me show you the first part. So we begin.
You know, obviously there's been an immense amount of selling pressure on the market in 2022. That's how you get the Dow down big, the NASDAQ down big, the S&P 500 down big, the Russell down big. The most bullish person on Wall Street has basically the S&P 500 going up 1% this year, which goes to show you how bearish the overall community on Wall Street has gotten around the stock market. That's unheard of. You never hear of a situation where the most bullish analyst has only a 1% gain for the S&P 500. That never happens, okay? Usually the bullish analysts are going to expect a 10 to 20% gain, not a 1% gain. But that's how bearish Wall Street has gotten at this point in time, and that's how, you know, when you're in that cycle of like cash, shorting, puts, you're going to look at everything from a negative angle, right? Every single thing is going to be negative, 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 because you're trying to talk yourself into what you have done here, right? Which is just kind of go all cash or all puts or all shorts. And you start kind of like, it has to be bad. And it's kind of like my friend's situation. We started this, right? He was very convinced. He's like, this can't be. You know, how are companies going to have record earnings? How are their revenues going to come back and their net income's going to come back? It doesn't make any sense. There's no way this is going to happen. The economy's closed. Like, look at how high unemployment was, which unemployment went to pretty much the highest levels we've seen since like the Great Depression. Like, it was insane, right?
Obviously, he's talking about the COVID crash, and when you watch the video, he's mentioning a friend who sold into the COVID crash because, you know, everything was bad, and nobody was predicting that not even the most bullish analysts were predicting that the market would come back, and let alone that companies would start to have record on record earnings.
He's like, look at all these, look at this, look at that. You know, he was looking at everything from a negative angle. There was nothing positive there, right? And as many folks were doing at that time, which, to be fair, there was an extremely negative time. The economy's closed, unemployment was skyrocketing to ridiculous double-digit numbers like we had never seen before, right? And yet, throughout that, right, all we ended up to was record highs for everything across the board. The truth is, none of the problems you speak of are new problems. So many times I feel like people should just like look at a history book or something like that and understand that none of this is new. People talk about the debt. You think the debt's new. It's not new, okay? The United States has been in debt for a long flipping flapjack in time. The number just gets bigger over time. And that's just what it is. And people say, well, you can't keep increasing it. You can't keep increasing it. They've been saying for decades now, you can't have the debt keep going up. They've been saying that for 100 years now, man. You ever watch the original Wall Street movie from the 1980s? And you ever see the old guy in that movie? And he's like, I can't make any money in this market. Too much cheap money sloshing around. They should have never took us off the gold standard. Dude, they've been saying the same stuff since the 70s and 80s that they're still saying today in 2022. It's the same exact thing. The same flippin' flapjacking thing, okay? Politics. Oh, this guy's in office. He's an idiot. He can't do anything. He's bad for the market, blah, blah, blah. They've been saying that about every president. I heard him say that about Obama. Oh, Obama, he's going to be horrible for the stock market. He's a socialist, dot, 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 right? Look what happened with the stock market under Obama. Oh, Trump, he's going to get us in a situation with North Korea. Oh, look at the tariffs. He's going to destroy the stock market, dot, 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 okay? Look at the stock market. Now they're saying all this stuff about Biden, right? And whoever comes after Biden, they're going to be saying the same dang thing. It depends on what part of the aisle you're on. This guy's going to ruin the stock market. This guy's ruining the economy. It's the same thing. They said that about everybody, man. And they're going to say it about the next guy and next guy and next guy. And it just depends on what side you're kind of on, right? That's nothing new. Housing prices. Dude, housing prices have been high for a long time. Like just because they're higher now? They've been high. Now they look at a much steeper level, right? So now you look back at a price of a house in 2019, you're like, oh man, that was so cheap back then. People in 2019 were still hoping for a real estate crash. I have plenty of people that I know that were like, oh man, I can't wait till housing prices collapse and crash, right? And because they felt it was too high. This is what they always are saying about housing prices. So, housing prices are always high. And guess what? Even if we had a crash in real estate, housing prices are still going to be high. They will always be high. That's just the way it is, right? And the amount of money that waits on the sideline for any major dip in housing is a pretty large number. It's a pretty large number. You know how many people are sitting on money right now, hoping housing prices go down 15, 20, 25, 30%, waiting to get a real estate investment property?
This is such a good point. I remember in 2012 when people told me, don't buy houses. It's going to crash. It's going to crash. The prices are, unsustainably high in 2012. And then I heard the same thing in 2015, 2018. And boy, I wish I could buy real estate for 2012 prices, even 2015 prices. Or look at, for example, Tesla. The valuation was always high. And, nobody could ever make sense of it. And then it keeps being high, and it's high every year. Very interesting point.
The amount of people I know personally that have either hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars sitting on the sideline, hoping and thinking that we're going to have a real estate crash is a pretty darn high number. Let's just put it that way, because they want to buy an investment property or two, but they're waiting for prices to hopefully fall down. And guess what? If you got a ton of people that have this money on the sideline, how are you ever going to get those prices down? Because eventually the price falls like 5% and then people are go in there and scoop it up, right? Oh, 10% off this house. Oh, I got to go in there and scoop it up. That's what people do, okay? They don't all, that's just the way it plays out. Inflation, you think inflation's new? We have inflation all the time, okay? It's just at a higher level right now, and it will come down. We had a freak amount of situations that all transpired at the same exact time, which made inflation go insane, right? You had obviously record earnings for companies that caught everybody off the guard, right? You had supply chains being a mess. You had energy coming off of super extreme low levels to normalized levels, which made the inflation numbers all look insane. That will come down, but we're going to continue to have inflation. And we're always going to have inflation. You know why? Because we're always increasing that debt there. And so inflation's going to continue to be a story forever and ever and ever. Okay? It's just going to be at different numbers. Sometimes it'll be at 2%, sometimes it'll be at 4%, sometimes it'll be at 6%. It's going to always be a different number, but we're always going to have inflation, okay? Conflicts between countries. You think that's new? Pick up a history book sometime, okay? So none of the problems any bears speak of or anybody negative on the market, these aren't new problems. These are ongoing issues. They are not going away. They will not go away ever. Okay?
So this is not specifically from Palantir. The next one is way more specific to Palantir. But I'm making this video the day after the Fed chairman's speech, and the market was just devastated. Like, there is no tomorrow. Everything, it's Red Dead Redemption. Palantir was down 5.70%. And it's just very important that we look at the big picture and see that the problems that, the Fed is trying to handle and the bearishness in the economy is nothing new. And these problems are always going to be there. And, they will be better sometimes and they will be worse sometimes. And it's nothing to freak out about. And here is the next video that is, or the next part of the video that is gold as a Palantir investor.
There's a list of stocks, I made here on TradingView many months ago of these stocks went down at least 65% plus, right? And People forget about when you're in a tough market, a bear market, a crashing market, whatever you want to call it, people completely forget about the long-term opportunities in these companies. They completely forget about where these companies are going to be in 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 7 years from now, and what the opportunities are. Because they're only viewing it by what's going on right now and what could transpire over the next 3 to 6 months, right? And it's a very, very unhealthy thing, in my personal opinion. Very, very unhealthy. You know, you got to really view how these things are going over the coming years. And that's how every successful investor always views these things. Like, how are these companies transpiring over the coming years, not over the coming months? The coming months is a sucker's game, man. The coming years is where the real money is always made. See, one of the things that makes humans special, and especially special humans, is the ability to delay gratification. And some humans have an easier time with this than others, right? Some, if you give them any sort of gratification, they're just very easy to like take it right then and there, right? Others, you can say, hey, you know, you can delay this gratification, you get maybe more later, and some people will take you up on that, but it's not everybody, right? And so in the stock market, people get very caught up into like thinking like, this company has to be doing tremendous right now, or I don't want to own it. If they're going through a struggle in the short term, I don't want to own that stock. You got to understand, you're not delaying your gratification. If everything already looks great for that company, generally speaking, everybody's going to already be in that stock, and it's already going to be flying to the moon, right? The real money is made in companies that maybe are going through a tougher time in the short term, but have tremendous long-term opportunities for their revenue growth, margin growth, and net income growth. And that's where people get very, I guess you'd say, confused in the market, because they think because a company's going through a struggle in the short term, that makes that company a failure over the long term, when usually it has nothing to do with that, right? And if your company's going through struggles in the short term, usually you're going to get for a very depressed valuation at that given moment, right? It's delaying gratification from what could be going on right now to what's going to be going on over the coming years, okay? This is why Warren Buffett always says long-term strategy, right? He always tells you, think about a stock over the next 10, 20 years, which is longer term than even I am. I usually am thinking about a stock over the next 3 to 5 years. Like 15 years out is kind of difficult for me to see. But the next 3 to 5 years, I can understand that, right? And, why get so caught up in this short-term crap when these companies and the stock prices and things like that are going to be likely significantly higher a few years from now? And, what it goes back to right now is investors are more worried about the next 20% drop in a stock rather than the next 200% gain in a stock, right? And whenever you're in a moment in time in the market when things get out of balance, it's something that should cause your ears to perk up a little bit and be like, what's going on here, okay? So when every single person is only worried about the 200% gain, you should worry. That's the market we were in at the end of 2020 and into the very early part of 2021. This is all people cared about, was the next 200% gain, right? That's all that mattered. There should have been a telltale sign to all of us that, oh, we're going to be in for some trouble, right? We're going to be in for some trouble here. Now, on the flip side, right, everybody right now is just worried about if their stock they buy is going to fall 20% over the next 3 months, 6 months, whatever, right? That's what everybody's so focused on right now, which is another sign that you're likely going to have a big flip coming. You can't predict it. Maybe it happens in a few months from now. Maybe it happens next year. We don't know. But the fact is, right now, everybody is so concerned about that 20% drop rather than that 200% gain. And that's a sign that you're definitely in an unhealthy market that is primed to be in a very different position, okay? Now, scary times are the best times to buy stocks for the long term. It's always been this way. It always will be this way. If you are a buyer of stocks in scary times, in crashing markets, in bear markets, you always are the one that wins the most, okay? And those have to be the times and the years you are deploying cash out there in the market and doing so aggressively. That's where the big money's made. The big money's not made when the stock market's already at record highs and when a stock is already at its 52-week high and its all-time high. You can still make money on that. Don't get me wrong, because obviously the market goes up over time and great companies, they continue to go up over time. But the biggest money is made in those really scary times, in the markets that are collapsing, right? In June, we had the NASDAQ was down over 34%. from its highs. You know, that's a significant drop. That's a type of market you got to be out there, you got to be buying. When you see NASDAQ, Russell, those sorts of things down 20, 30, 40% from their highs, you've got to be out there buying. And I know it can be scary because there's this and that, but you have to. You have to be out there buying in those sorts of markets, right? You know, this is just in my lifetime since I was born. Guess what? Every single scary time when the market crashed or was crashing, it was a great buying opportunity every single time. I don't care what you're talking about. It was always a buy the dip opportunity, right? And so this year, what do you think this is? It's a buy the dip opportunity, right? If we get any sort of crash in 2023, what do you think it's going to be? A buy the dip opportunity. And you just got to understand the game. The game that is being played here is a game in which when things get scary, when times get tough, people sell assets, even if they're great assets, at bad prices, which is very bad prices. And you, as somebody that can see further than 5 feet in front of them, are able to pick up those assets for very, very cheap.
So this was pure gold as a Palantir investor, because it's so true what he's saying. Just look at Snowflake and Palantir. Snowflake has the same income, same revenue numbers as Palantir, yet the company is worth 2.5 times more. They have 2 times the employees, they have 10 times the salespeople, and it's 2.5 times the valuation of Palantir. And just because Palantir is seemingly having a hard time, but remember, it's not even that they're having a hard time, it's just it's not growing as fast as investors want them to grow. So it's not even that they're not growing, and somehow everybody throws out the long-term view. They look at 3 feet in front of them, and they cannot have delayed gratification, and they sell great assets at horrible prices. So obviously you all need to do your own research, and I'm working on a Palantir video that, you know, my thesis after Q2 Palantir earnings, because obviously there is a change to it, but the company, I believe, is still a very, very good investment. And just because there's overall bearishness on the market, and, you know, just because the short term is not looking good, it doesn't mean that it's a bad investment. And remember, if all was perfect, Palantir would not be below $8. It would probably be $30 today. So thank you so much for watching. If you watched this far, please make sure you subscribe if you haven't, and check out the first link in the description box below, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.